Reckon, Fred.
It's good. It's spinach. Where's it from?
I'm glad you asked that, Fred.
Yeah.
From the Ilarian Greek Cafe Bistro in Eccles.
I was in there last week all night inside a wooden horse.
Oh,
Trying to get him. Genuine Greek. I like...
Can I just have a word, though?
what's his name, the guy that runs it?
Ervis, lovely man. And people have accused me, Fred, if you find
What?
it hard to believe, of toading up to him.
Why?
For favouritism, as if we'd be eating all that now.
I do it all the time.
Good. No, but I was in there today, speaking to a chap. I said to him, I'm meeting Fred from the BBC. You know what he said to me? Tony, BBC, something
Really?
like that, yeah. So I purchased, and I did purchase these
Well,
selection.
You're not allowed to say Greek restaurant, are you? Or Chinese restaurant, or Chinese...
Chinese was a sticky wicket, Fred.
Oh, it's going to go down now.
World's going mad.
We'll get through it. But what we'll do, Fred,
Yeah.
we're here today to discuss many things. But while we're discussing them, we'll sample some of the delights from the Ilarian.
Yeah.
And today, Fred, is an anniversary, I believe.
It is. It's our anniversary. Because it was a year ago today, June the 3rd, that you and I were at George Shepherd's exhibition at the gallery in Eccles.
You're right.
And it had nearly 2,000 people went through that gallery.
It was a fantastic exhibition, I've got to admit.
But the other anniversary is a sad one for me. Because 39 years ago to the day when the Pope was in Eaton Park, I had my accident in my parachute where I had a bad landing and I broke the coccyx in my back. And this is where the balloon story starts, because I'm going to tell you all about this now. Especially for that lady Ellen that wanted me to discuss this out-of-body experience, but that'll come later. The incident that led up to it, Tony, I'd got this balloon and I started studying for my pilot's licence. I did meteorology and Cap 85, air law and everything involved with it, and I got it. And I was ballooning for a couple of years. And I got involved with this guy called Martin Duffy, who used to present Scramble on Granada TV. Martin was a guy in a wheelchair, paraplegic, smashing fella. And he used to do a programme with Dr. Michael Winstanley.
Remember him?
Sort of like This Is Your Right.
Yeah.
And it was a consumer programme, helping people out in legal problems and all that lot. So anyway, he gets this balloon, pays about 30 grand for it. He ran a company called the Ideas Factory in Stockport. And he buys this balloon, 30,000 quid. It's adapted so I can take paraplegic people flying with a harness and a seatbelt and everything involved in it. So I'm taking, on this particular day, I took with me, I won't mention her name, but she was the locations manager off Coronation Street. And Martin said, take her for a jolly, will you? And I took another lady passenger up with me. And we took off about 05:30 on a Saturday morning, January the 10th, 1991. I remember it well. It was horrific. Took off. I got me TAFA, everything else that you need, me forecast from the Civil Aviation Authority, saying, yeah, it's going to be good, there's no risk of lightning, you're going to have a great day and what have you. So we went flying. No sooner been up, I was at about 4,000 feet and I looked over to the west. And the west takes us over Blackpool, Morecambe, that area. And I saw this thick bland of, it was called HAR, H-A-A-R, and it comes in rapid. It's like fog. Anyhow, straight away I got on the radio, so this is Golf Mike Delta Tango Victor. Okay, Tango Victor, stand by one. That was the air traffic control telling me from Manchester Airport just to wait a minute because they're obviously handling other calls. In hindsight, I should have sent out what they call a PAN call, which isn't as strict as a Mayday call, but a PAN call makes them sit up and listen. That's what I should have done in hindsight. So anyway, when they get back to me, it's rolled in. It's thick fog. It's like I'm flying inside a ping pong ball. I can't see anything. And I'm looking at the two girls and they're looking back, will this be okay? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. Sounded more confident than I actually felt. And next thing, I'd set my QNH, my altimeter at ground level. But what you've got to allow for is if you're flying at this altitude and the land's coming up like that, bump, you're going to hit something. And then I saw through this HAR, I'll never forget it, I heard it before I saw it. Power lines. And I shouted to both girls, quick, power lines, get down. And I pulled them down underneath me in the basket. Next thing, bang, I hit the power lines. The envelope went over the top multiple earth strap, folded down and went through like a cinema projector with a film in. Thank God, which you'll find out later on why. And then all hell let loose. I see this cable coming to me like that, and I pushed out. That's how I took the tip of my finger off. And this is 44 kVA. This is the guy that from Norway said to me, I want to take you for a slap-up lunch. And I said, why? He said, I want to know why you're still here. Nobody could understand. And after 15 to 30 seconds, the entire grid, it all tripped out, but the entire grid resets itself. Thought, now I knew this, that it would reset, and I thought, I'm in trouble now, I'm in trouble. But as it went over the envelope, it turned the burners upside down, both of them, on the back of my head, on my hands here, and on my back, and I got very badly burned. But this is where, and I can't, this is horrific, this. To this day, I don't like telling this story, but I do in case it'll help somebody else, because people think you're a crackpot or a lunatic, but I had an out-of-body experience. I'm on fire, I'm in the basket, the girls are underneath me, the burners are on, I've got my hands outstretched like this, turning the propane cylinders off to stop the feet to the burner. As I do that, my sleeves roll up. As you put your arms out with a jacket on, your sleeves roll up. So I've got these burns across my wrists. See these? Still got them to this day. And it's like a long time down the line. And then I've got these girls underneath me. And I'm looking down at myself from a vantage point, some 12, 15 feet above where I was. And I can see myself in brilliant Technicolor. I've got my royal blue flying jacket on with all my badges and patches from all over the world. You know, like astronauts have patches or what they've done. Same in the balloon fraternity. You get airships, but wherever you've been in Battle Creek, Michigan, or India, Safdar-Jung, or over Afghanistan. I flew over Afghanistan at one time. Anyway, I thought, what's going on? And I'm looking at myself from this vantage point in brilliant Technicolor, these yellow flames, my back's on fire. And straight away like that, quick as a flash, I'm back inside. And I said to the girls, quick, girls, put me out, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. So they start banging me out with the hands. That's how they got the burns on the hands, banging me out. All that way, I thought, oh, this is awful. And then I'm looking, what am I going to do, what am I going to do? So I got hold of the radio, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is Golf Mike Delta Tango Victor, impacted power lines in the Rosendale Valley. I get this message come back. Okay, Tango Victor, send your message. Where's Rosendale? I thought, what? And I'm trying to explain to this fellow where Rosendale. I said, where are you? Oh, hell, I'm on finals down at O'Hare Airport in Chicago. Now, apparently, because of the skip in the atmosphere, if you send a message off on the radio, VHF and all, it can bounce off. And this guy picked it up. He says, but I'll relay your message. Next thing, all hell lets loose. I've got the India 99, the police helicopter, flying over me with this Andy Doyle at the controls. And I'm trying to guide him in using the yellow flame because he can't see. It's that thick, the fog. Ha. H-A-A-R, not fog. Ha. Anyhow, he eventually lands. Next thing, a Sea King, the yellow rescue one comes. And he lands by the side of me. I thought, what's going on here? It's like getting really busy. Like I said to you last time, they might as well have had an ice cream man selling ice cream. Bacigalupo could have made a fortune. Anyhow, they took me on board. They carried me, about 3 or 4 of them, put me on board this helicopter. And all I can think of all the time, I'm freezing. I'm really cold. And the girls, they took, I don't know where they took the girls, somewhere else, different helicopter. And they took us straight away to Withington Hospital, which is now finished, to Ward 6B, the burns unit. And they're carrying us up to this burns unit. And all I could say to the girl, she's holding my hand, you know, trying to comfort me like they do in hospital. I said, I'm freezing. Can you cover my feet up? Can you cover me? I'm freezing, I'm really cold. And I've just been burned. But when you've just been burned, you look okay, you've just got a black face. But it's when it starts to peel off the skin that you see. Archie McIndoe, that was the RAF surgeon during the war, he did loads of work on pilots that were very badly burned in the cockpit. And I'm thinking, oh, this is going through my mind, you know, I'm going to be burned and what have you. Second time, because it happened to me when I was 5-year-old, when I fell in the bonfire. My Uncle Jim had got a load of tyres because we didn't collect any bommy wood. He says, we'll have a bonfire. Anyhow, they'd all gone in the house and I was parading round and I fell in the fire. And when I was being burned in the balloon, I got the exact same feeling that I got when I was 5-year-old. I couldn't breathe him. I'm like this, because there's no oxygen. And I can't breathe, it's just that. And this Henry Deere pulled me out that lived in Conway Street, just over the hills. If he hadn't pulled me out, I wouldn't be here today telling you this story. Very grateful to that guy, wherever he may be. Anyway, back to the hospital. I'm saying to the girl, please cover my feet up. I'm burning. So she does her best to cover my feet up. I didn't realise at the time that when you're close to death, you get cold feet. You've heard the expression, you've got cold feet, that sort of thing. And your extremities start to go into lockdown, yeah. So anyway, this guy come across, never forget him, he was an Indian fella. And he looked down at me. And I could see his countenance, and I said to him, namaste. Namaste. He was obviously Indian, you know, but he could have been anything, Pakistani, Indian, whatever. But I know them all, Sasri Akal or Assalamu Alaikum. I knew them all, and I struck looking, knowing that he was Indian. And this guy saved me hands because he did a rescurotomy. See this big scar, this channel? Yeah. My hands were swollen up, and he had a cheap Rolex Oyster, solid gold, cost me a tenner, off one of these fellas in Spain, round my wrist, and it had gone up like a balloon either side, but with it being clamped like that, it looked like a dromedary, a camel, whatever, with two humps. And they had to get these bolt croppers right through my Rolex wristwatch strap. I thought, there's another tenner gone down the drain.
You're not a much luck, have you?
No, and they released it. Anyway, I go to the hospital in the ward 6B, and they put you in a room. Every room in a burns unit is a separate room. And when I got people coming to see me, they used to say, you charlatan, you preach socialism. Next thing, you've got your own private room. And he had to explain that there are no private rooms. It's to stop cross-infection in a ward. Anyway, that comes later. After this, I suffered a thing called post-traumatic stress disorder. And I was introduced to this professor, Nick Tarrier. That was his name. And he says, it's all right, from the home counties. Hello there, Fred. My name's Nick Terrier. I'm a professor, psychologist. Now, I said, well, you know, it's going to try and put me right. I didn't realise that psychology was the same as a psychiatrist. I bet he thinks I'm a right nutter. He says, right, what I want you to do, my son, is tell me about your balloon flight. So I told him that. He said, don't leave anything out, anything at all. I said, well, okay, right. And I told him about everything. And then he said to me, while you were in the throes of this fracas, did you see a light at the end of a tunnel? I said, no, I've heard all that nonsense. No. He says, well, was your past life flashed fast forward like a video? I said, no. He said, then you had an out-of-body experience. Tony, you could have knocked me down with a feather, because I'd never discussed it with anybody. I was at one time thinking, this is my imagination. It purely must be my imagination. And he hit the bottom. I said, how do you know? I thought, have I been mumbling because I was on morphine and all that nonsense for the pain? Because there's no relief with a burn. In a burns unit, if you ring up and say, how's Tony Flynn? Oh, he's resting. They don't say, oh, he's fine or he's comfortable, because there's no... You ask any housewife that's cut her arm here or burned her arm with an electric iron, you're in pain 24/7 with that. You can't really... And at the time when we were kids, you used to rub butter on it and everything, didn't you? Worst thing you did,
margarine.
Margarine. I forgot we were Salford. Yeah. Stock! Echo, 8p halfpenny. Stock was 11p. So I'm in hospital, and he says he could have knocked me down with a feather. And there was another fella called Dr. Donald Muss who was very interested in my recollections for his book Ubi, Out of Body Experiences. So he come chatting to me. He said, what was it like? Tell me. So I told him the story I've told you, that I was hovering above and I could see I was in danger. Right, he said, right. Next thing, a friend comes to see me, one of the balloon crew that used to do the retrieve for me. His name was Roger Croston. And Roger is an archaeologist, a bit of an egghead, but very, very bright. And I said to him, I've had this psychiatrist here, the psychoanalyst or whatever you want to call him. He says, yeah, what did he want? So I told him the story, and he said, he's asked you the right questions. He said, how did you feel when he said you had an out-of-body experience and you hadn't discussed it? I said, I was amazed. He says, can I put forward a theory to you? I said, yeah, anything. So he said to me, look, he said, we're in hospital now in your little ward room here. If we had a camera let out upstairs on a helium balloon facing down and we let it go up 100 feet, what would we see? I said, we'd probably see the roof of the hospital. Okay, using your imagination, what would be under the roof? I said, well, you talking to me right now, me in bed and you talking. He said, exactly. Now, this is my theory. I believe that just as on a cold day when you're breathing in and out, when you're breathing out, what do you see? That's all steam, condensation from the CO2. He said, exactly. Now, we only use 10% of our brain. He said, anybody will tell you that. We don't. Even surgeons today don't even understand the complete functions of the brain. They're getting there and they will be there eventually, but even today they don't really know. He says, now, how would it be if during that accident, your brain let out this little, I don't know what you'd call it, like steam or whatever, little satellites that looked down upon you and said, hey, look, you're in trouble. Quick, get your back put out, you're on fire. And then it came back into your body. And that is the only acceptable explanation anybody has ever come up with from that day to this. So anyhow, I'm back in there with this Nictaria, and I get this thing which I never believed. During the war, they used to call it shell shock, Carl, when a soldier had suffered from, and all this lot. It's now called post-traumatic stress disorder, which I know it exists, because I was there. I was part of it. Look at how emotional he's getting now, just shoving his face with the phyllo pastry from the ilium. Anyway, yeah. So I get back into me body and all this lot, and he's talking to me, and he comes along and he says, "Are you dreaming about this?" I said, "Every night." And it wasn't a dream; it was a nightmare. Every night I'm back in the basket, I'm flying towards the power lines, I get electrocuted, I get burned, and I've not told you, but later on we fall 110 feet from the balloon from the top. Anyway, he says to me, right, what I want you to do, this is Nick Tarrier again, the professor. He said, I want you to imagine that you're in a cinema on the front seat and you're looking at a film there of your accident. I said, yeah. He said, and then when you've watched the film, get up and walk out to the exit on the right there and go out and leave the cinema. I said, yeah. He says, and the next time you have the dream, think that you're in the cinema, but you sat behind your body from the night before. I said, yeah. What do you see? So, well, the back of my head and shoulders and the accident. He said, exactly. I want you to do this. No matter how many rows of seat there are in this cinema, I want you to do it to the very last seat, which I did do. So I was telling him, I said, I'm on the last seat, Professor. I said, what do I do? He says, right. And every night I had this repetitive nightmare. It was horrible. And on the last night of this seat, I was 30 rows back. He says, right, this time when you get up, don't go out that exit. Get up, go out the back exit and slam the door behind you, which is exactly what I did. And from that day to this, I've never had a recurrence of that nightmare. It worked. So I have a lot of faith in these psychologists, whatever you want to call them. They did it for me. And we did this book, Dr. Donald Muss, about Ubi experiences and things like that. And I spoke to, I've had one of them. I said, have you really? Explain it to me. And there's one thing, if they say this thing, I know they've had an out of body. If they don't say it, I know they've not had it. And they say, I had this and I had the other and I had the other. The only person that's ever said to me, he said, no. He said, and there was this weird odour. Bang, straight away. I said, describe the odour. I can't. Well, how do you know it was an odour? There was an odour. And I smelt the same odour. And that's the only thing that's connected anybody that says they've had an out-of-body experience. I believe people believe that they have, but it's all muddled and that. I don't believe that in reality they have.
I've had one.
Have you?
The packet ran out of beer, the Body's house.
Gary's old place from the Rock, Boddington's house.
I had to bring the conversation.
Out of bodies, yeah. I used to sup bodies. If I was driving, I'd only have 20 or 30 pints of bodies because I knew I'd be okay.
Sensible.
The police stopped me and said, where have you been? I said, the packet house. Have you been drinking bodies? Yeah. I said, go on. You're right, you're off.
I'm going to throw this one in, Alfred.
Yeah.
You just mentioned a Rolex.
Yeah.
A watch I've always desired. Fred has just shown me this watch, not a Rolex. Omega. I'll say the one. Speedmaster. You tell me the story, Fred. I just could not believe it.
It's an Omega Speedmaster.
I can't get it off.
How surprising. Bring a knife, Joe. I'll get it off.
I can't.
Get the axe.
You tell me
I'm
about
sure
it.
you how to do it. You're not used to graft, are you?
Yeah. Oh.
Right.
Never thought you'd get it off, actually.
Now, I don't know whether you can read this, Carl. I don't know whether but it's would you get that on camera? I don't know. It's all inscribed on the back.
Let me...
And in 1987, I was at Battle Creek in Michigan, and I won the competition. There was about 16, 17 different countries from all around the world, and we had this competition, and I won it. Not by skill or anything. I think 90% of it is luck. There's a bit of skill. Yeah. And I won it. And the guest speaker on the night, we had what they call a survivors dinner.
There you go. Perfect.
Did you read it? Flight qualified by NASA, first watch one on the moon.
Listen to who gave him this watch.
So, the guest speaker on the evening was Neil Armstrong. And bearing in mind, this is nearly 20 years till the moon. Yeah. So he's doing it. And he said, and the winner of the competition is, would you come forward from Mr. United Kingdom, Fred Fielder, Captain Fred Fielder, come forward. So, I've won it. I didn't know up until that point that I'd won it. So I'll go forward. And he died 2012, Neil. It's gone quick, hasn't it?
Neil now.
9 years.
Hear that Neil now.
Well, Neil and I.
Nearly baby.
I met Buzz Aldrin and all, but that's another story. I'll tell you that. The only one I didn't meet was... I didn't meet Michael Collins. He's just passed away now, Michael, and he was 91. But he was the only human being ever in the history of this world that's been furthest away from anybody. The other side of the moon in the commanding module. Without him, they wouldn't have got back. So
he took a photograph of everyone in the world on it, apart from himself.
Yeah. Everybody that's ever lived or ever...
Well, this watch, Fred,
has lived.
sell us.
So he gives it me. Neil Armstrong presents the watch to me, the Omega Speedmaster. I don't believe for 1 minute that this is the actual watch. I believe it's like the post office with first aid covers. I believe they had a few thousand of these and they gave them to certain... I interviewed Patrick Moore once for the BBC and I was talking to him and I said, Patrick, I said, you've never married, thinking there's an angle in here as a journalist. And he said to me, no, here become my girlfriend in 1942. Never found anybody ever to take second place. Next question. And he went all through this and I said, well, you've still got your beloved cat where you live in Chelsea. Tragically, she died 2 weeks ago. I thought, oh, Jesus, it's getting... I said, but you've got the love of your life, the telescope. No, only 3 days ago in that terrific storm down in Chelsea, blown to pieces. Got an insurance claim going, but blown to pieces. Thought, I'm not getting anything nice from the fella to give him back. I can't do it. Anyhow, he was good as gold. He says to me, where can I get a good curry round here from, Fred? This was at the Tameside Hippodrome. I'd gone and done the interview. I said, well, the real place to go down this side is what we call the Curry Mile. Do you know anybody down there? Says, well, yeah, there's about 60 restaurants all both sides of the road. I said, take your choice, but I think we should go to Lalkeela. Okay, he says, so we'll go there. So I went with him and his agent called something Devalier and his wife, who was a good-looking woman, Devalier's wife and that. And the four of us went in my car down to here. Because they didn't have a car, they'd come up on the train or something or what have you. So I took him in there and we're in the Lalkeela, honest. And we sat down there, just ordered and all the rest of it. And this fella comes in. Hey! And he looks at Patrick. He says, you look like that fella on the television with a telescope. So Patrick Moore looked at him and says, do I really? A lot of people say that. And the fella says, yeah, but I can tell you're not. As soon as you open your gob, I can tell you're not him. And it's one of the funniest things that's ever happened, but he's a smashing fella, Patrick Moore. It's like if Sherlock Holmes died, and you saw an effigy of a pipe and a deer stock, you'd say straight away, Sherlock Holmes. Now, if you saw a monocle and a telescope, you'd say the same thing about, oh, lovely fella, lovely. Anyway, that was the story of that. But there's a footnote to the one in hospital. Oh, this was funny. I don't know, I've got to dress this up, viewer. I've got to dress this up, but I'm sure you can read between the lines. But one of the patients opposite me in his room, because we're all kept separate for cross-infection to avoid it. His name was Podowski, and he'd been in...
his real name?
Yeah, but everyone called him Ski. I can't even remember his first name. They called him Ski, and he was a fireman, and he was involved about 1991 in a blowback incident in Pendleton. They opened the door and he got this blow, full thrust of all the heat and the flames, and he was badly burned. He was like me, and he's in hospital. And he says to me, we called it slime time because every day, you know, your mum used to say, don't pick it, it'll never heal. That's rubbish. When you've got a burn, they peel everything off the next day and then they rub all this cream in it and that paraffin gauze. Do you remember the paraffin gauze? They put that on you. We call it slime time. Anyhow, they came in this particular day and they sorted ski up and all that lot with his crime. He said, and they put cucumbers on my eyes and I'm laying back in bed like that and it's very, very quiet. And I thought, this is boring. So I got the hospital earphones on, you know, the hospital radio, put me in. He said, and it's Radio 4. And there's this play on called Vatsyayana's Kama Sutra. And he said, I'm listening to this and it's telling you about all the wonderful positions you can adopt when you're making love, sort of thing. So he said, yeah. He says, you'll never guess what's happened. I said, what? He said, well, telling you about this Vatsyayana and Kama Sutra. He said, I've been a couple of months without me girlfriend or anything like that. He says, so I start to get a bit aroused, Fred. I don't mind telling you, I get very aroused. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? So he's getting very aroused.
I've got a good memory.
Yeah. Yeah. He's getting very aroused and he decides at this point in time that he's got to do himself a little manual service. So he does his manual service. He says, and it didn't take long because I was, you know, I've not had any, and all his hands were bandaged. He said, so it must have been difficult, but he does this manual performance on himself. He said, and after it was all, I thought to myself, oh. He said, and I took the cucumber off my eyes, like that, and just looked back side at bed, and there's a hot steaming mug of tea. So one of the nurses, can you imagine the conversation when she got back? I've just been in there with that fireman with a cucumber on his arm. Anyway, he laughed and all the rest of it. He thought it was, at the time, he was very embarrassed.
Well, he would be, yeah.
But looking back, when he let all his mates come in, and I told them before he did.
Is that true, Fred? The diet in the Burns unit is porridge and whiskey? Or is that a myth?
That's a myth. I wish it was. I'd have got
the Burns, Robbie Burns.
Yeah.
A joke there, nearly.
Yeah, sorry. I was in this this situation where when you're in the Burns unit and all that lot, on morphine, my mate came to see me, Brian Whitworth. We've been mates for years. And he came to see me in hospital. And I said to him, aren't the walls lovely, Whit, the way the coconuts are shaped? And he's looking at me. He told me this after. He said, oh, yeah, great. Done a great job there, haven't they? And I was in pain. And he shouted at the nurse. He was a very protective Brian. He'd been a mate for years. He says, will you give him something? Give him something. He's in pain. And the nurse said, we can't give him anything. He's becoming addicted to it. And I said straight, I'm not. And I knew that I was. Yeah. So I had to go through it all. That morphine's wonderful. Don't have to take your mind away from it. And that's the second time I've had it when I was down the pit. And
down the pit? What was you having morphine down the pit for?
Well, I was in an accident there. I used to work down.
I thought it was recreational.
No, not that pit. I was down Agecroft Colliery and his fan fell on my leg. Long story short, it damaged my leg and the deputy comes along, he has a key round his neck and every so often there's a concrete box with morphine in it and there's only the deputy got the key and opens it up and he gives me the morphine in my arm or it might be in my bum, I can't remember. And they've got these blokes, we want volunteers to take this man up pit. Well, they'd all volunteer, all the Wiganers and Lee, because he got up early doors and got washed and away. So they're all volunteering. And they're struggling, because I was a big lad then, they're struggling, and there's hills down the pit, and they're trying to carry me up this hill. And I said, here lads, I'll get off and give you a lift. They're all struggling, breathing, panting and all that, and tobacco juice all down their jaws and everything.
Lovely,
anyhow, I was grateful. They got me out and all the rest of it, but that was the first time that I'd ever had morphine. And it's a great relief. It doesn't
very Moorish.
Yeah, but it took the pain away.
Frederick, should I try a little sample of the food?
I'm on this spinach one here. What's it? It's all phyllo pastry, isn't it, or phyllo?
I'm not sure, Fred.
Yeah. This is spinach.
Is it?
Yeah. Talking about Brian Witt before.
I'm trying some cheese service.
He ended up being the manager. Do you know where the horseshoe is in Broughton?
Yeah.
Opposite the Star, which Wally Marshall used to have, the one-arm guy. He was the manager for Mecca. Wally, nice fella. No longer with us.
Lovely that, Fred. Is that strong cheese?
Are we on the cheese here?
Go. Jones, you can have some of this later on if you
What's his name, that fella? From the Ilium?
Irvis from the Illyrian, yeah.
Irvis, Yasu, El Greco, El Gordo, and Daxi. A bit of Greek, that.
Oh, right. Speaks to me.
Yamas.
Yamas. He was saying you've come from the horseshoe.
Yeah, right. And Witt was the manager. Peggy had very bad arthritis and that. So Witt more or less ran the pub. Anyhow, I went in this Friday night. And they've all got faces like thunder. What's wrong with you? Been let down badly. Tommy, that should have been with us, he's been in an accident, been knocked down. They took him to the then Hope Hospital, which is now the famous Salford Royal Centre of Excellence. So he said, I said, well, what's wrong? I said, he'll be all right if he's in the hospital. I'll sort him out. No, it's not that we're worried about. I said, well, what is it? We've got a fishing competition tomorrow, and Tommy was part of it. He said, and there's 9 of us in this competition, and we can't do it. I said, well, do you want me to stand it? I've got all my own tackle. I said, yeah, of course I can. I'll stand in if you want. Oh, thank God for that. Thanks a lot. So they'd all smile back. Here, so have a pint, Fred. Sending me a pint and all this. I said, what time do you want me here tomorrow? 6 o'clock. I said, what, in the evening? That's a bit... No. 6 o'clock in the morning, so I turned up. But when I was at home, I got this bamboo and I put a net in it. And I got a jam jar and put string around it, like with a hoop on like that. So I'm walking up the Oak Street with this jar and the net on my shoulder. Not happy. I thought it was the funniest thing since sliced bread. Said, I've got my own tackle here. Said, what's that? I said, you'd be amazed how many sticklebacks I've had in this jar in my lifetime. They weren't happy. There was Pete Tierney, Beckett, there's a few of them. And I'm sure there's still, I know Pete Tierney isn't, God bless him, but there's a lot of them still about today. And I always treated life as a laugh, but I never went in again after that. They fell out with me.
No,
that cheese is feta cheese, isn't it?
It's excellent, not very strong, isn't it?
Yeah. Joe, have you got the menu?
Yeah.
Can we have it, please? This is Joe, my missus. Contrary to expectations and rumours, people think I'm married to Anne Hegarty off The Chase. That was just a photograph.
Yeah, there.
Joan, what's it like being married to him? Seriously.
Oh, it's wonderful.
No, seriously.
No, so yeah, I love him dearly.
There you are.
Don't I?
Yeah, up yours, all my ex-girlfriends.
No, he does speak very highly of you, Joan, all the time, I must admit.
This is Bugazza with...
We're very happy, Tony.
My sister. Blissfully happy. Listen to cackling like that, like Rosemary's Baby. I'm writing a letter to Daddy, Betty Davis. Bugassa with cream. Tell you what, there's a lot of rich stuff here. I can't have the sweet stuff with that type 2 diabetes. It's no good, is it? But this spinach is excellent. And that cheese is nice, isn't it?
Very strong. Carl, would you enjoy some?
I'll have some of it. If there's any left after you finish.
I'm going to go down on Friday and I'm having my
I'm too busy
teeth
with-
sorted on Friday. I've had these implants sorted.
Since we started doing this filming, Fred, I've noticed that a lot of your old friends have got back in touch. I know if you don't
Yeah.
want your own money, or is it just friendship?
There was one bloke, George Cummins, an ex-pitman that I work with, when it said in Facebook, name a couple of the famous people that you've met. So straight away I thought of Her Royal Highness Queen Elizabeth when I got my MBE, and I thought about Neil Armstrong with that.
Yeah.
And he sent this picture back of a fella collapsed laughing and all that, as if I'm telling porkies. Same fella doesn't realise I've interviewed Sean Connery, Vanessa Redgrave, Norman Wisdom, Ken Dodd. Honest to God, Flynny, I've done them all. You talk to anybody that used to listen to my programme at BBC GMR and they'll tell you, I used to have guest artists on all the time. Joe Brown, Craig Douglas, and some famous author, historical author from Salford by the name of Anthony Flynn.
Oh, I thought you meant Bill Jolly then. It was...
Billy Jolly from Jollies.
Yeah, I don't know. He's
Regent
an
Road
author,
area
isn't he?
was, yeah.
A
He's
Salford
dead
lad.
now.
Good
Died.
book.
Well, this Bill Jolly's died, but he used to have the Farmers Arms in Simistock. You know, we had a football match there once. The Farmers Arms versus the Same Yet. Both John Willie Lee's houses. Which John Willie Lee's is decent beer if you like it on your chips with a bit of salt. But you do get used to the vinegary taste of it, and I enjoy John Willie Lee's now. But we had Alan Webb there, and we had this football match between the two pubs. And he was our coach-manager. And I think Pep could take a few words of advice off this fella. He says, right, before you kick off, gather round for a quick tactical talk. So we're all gathered round like that, anticipation. He says, right, go out there and if you can, score some goals. Carry on! That was our tactical talk. That was with Alan
like
Webb.
that.
But I've had loads of things like that have happened to me in pubs and clubs and all the rest of it, you know. I told you about, do you remember Tommy Ducks?
I do. Knickers on the ceiling, Fred.
Do you know what the proviso was for those knickers on the ceiling?
You had to stick there if you threw them.
No.
Oh.
They had to be warm before they went on.
Not too far off.
Yeah, but what they did, the landlord, Peter Wrigley, who I know, he went to the Nag's Head after that on Deansgate, which Chris Rustage took over later on. But he went to the Nag's Head, and they carried it, when they did the thing of transition, they carried the coffin from Tommy Duck's to there. But Tommy Duck's closed on the Saturday night.
Overnight, demolished.
Sunday morning, gone. Finished it a lot. But they had to be warm, so he used to have loads of paper knickers behind the bar, the Peter Wrigley. And a lot of the girls were game girls. They would do it for the laugh. Said, right, I'd like to put mine. Right, he said, he is. And he'd give them some paper knickers. They'd go in the, what's it? And he'd grab hold of them, make sure they were warm, and then he'd pin them up on the ceiling. And there was also toilet seats that you sat on. Do you remember cars? And there was a coffin in the middle of the room, the one they carried across Deansgate. And
That's sewing machines for tables,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Single tables.
Tommy Duck's, I don't think that, from what I can remember, I went in there with Charlie Edwards once. Do you know Charlie Edwards? Oh, a real Salford character. Sadly no longer with us. Regent Road lad. And I went in with Charlie. Charlie's a nutter. We're all in there in Tommy Duck's, and I was with my missus at the time. And he comes and sprays her with his soda siphon right over her hair. And she had always black hair and all that lot, and she looked like a drowned sewer rat. And Charlie's falling about laughing, thinking it's the best thing. I'd have belted him, but he was an hard case.
Yeah.
But that was Charlie. Everybody that knows Regent Road will know Charlie. Had some great times out. But that was the story of Tommy Duck's, yeah. And there's been countless other pubs that I've been in that I've got tales to tell about, like the Broughton in Higher Broughton, the Horseshoe in Pendleton, opposite that one you did on Pendleton Church with that fella.
Yeah.
When you did the documentary on it.
What was his name from Pendleton? MBE.
Lee Craven.
Lee Craven.
Yeah.
Lee
Nice
Craven,
chap, Lee.
I remember watching it and thinking I used to go over there. It's not there anymore, but I used to go in the Horseshoe. And I used to go in the Woolpack that divided. I don't mean the new Woolpack, I mean the one that divided.
Broad Street and Bolton Road.
Yeah, that's right. It was Broad Street. What's the other piece that went to the left? It wasn't Broad Street then.
It was. Eccles New Road. Eccles Old
That's
Road.
it, Eccles Old Road. That's when it became Eccles Old Road. And there used to be a garage on the corner. It used
Blue
to say,
Star.
yeah. And next to it was the Humphrey something centre.
Humphrey Booth.
Humphrey Booth Centre. And they had this big Blue Star garage thing. They had a big thing on there. And then you went past and turned first left, and it brought you to Sutton Flats. Yeah?
Yep.
And then if you went down a bit further, Cotswold Drive, it brought you to a young lady's house who I used to play Truth Dare Kiss Commando Promise with. I can't say too much because Foghorn Leghorn's in the background listening to all this.
This is shocking.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what-
I'm writing a letter to Daddy. It's a cackle, and it's not a laugh. It's a cackle. Frightens me to death sometimes, you know. She does some daft things.
So what was the name?
I can't tell you. Sandra Huff would go mad. There's a lot of people know Sandra. She married my mate, funnily enough, Eddie Rowlands, that used to have the Bridge pub next to the Prince of Wales down Lord Broughton.
Yeah, I know it.
That got pulled down.
Sad that all these pubs go.
They used to call it Poets' Corner, that area around
Yeah.
there, you know, because it's named after all poets and
Poets
what have you.
Estate, isn't it?
And that bridge, that steel bridge that they all used to go across. And on the corner, Pat Malloy in the Pet's Corner. And then St Boniface's by the side of that. Had some great times. Did some great gigs around there at Boniface's when I was doing my mobile stuff. Yeah. And then we...
Go-Go was your place,
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
A chap pulled me in Eccles. I'm sorry to say, my friend.
You're very
I
lucky.
didn't get your name. You paid me. He said, will you see Fred? Give me my regards. I said, I certainly will. I went, I used to go to Wood Street Beer Keller with
Right.
him, and I used to spend a hell of a lot, too much time in the Whiskey a Go-Go
Yeah.
with Fred.
Yeah, had some good days.
Okay,
Funnily enough, Joan come in this morning. She'd been down to organise my podiatrist appointment because I've not had my, since before lockdown. I've not had my feet seen to, and my toenails are growing out through the
I
front
thought
of
it
my
was like
leather
feta
shoes.
cheese.
No, but she's made the appointment down there, and while she was down there, this fella says, "Oh, you're Fred Fielder's wife." She said, "Yeah." Said, "Tell him Gordon was asking about him." So she come in. She says to me, "Oh, Gordon was asking about you." I said, "He's not seen you for ages." So I'm looking at her blank, she said, and she looked at me, she said, "Gordon who?" I said, "Exactly. I know a few Gordons. My mate used to be Gordon Taylor."
Snooker player.
No, he's chairman of the
Footballer.
FA Cup, wasn't
Oh,
he?
yeah.
Yeah.
FA,
If
Gordon
it's the
Taylor.
same one anyway, lived in
Gordon
Taylor
Taylor.
Street, number 13. Taylor Street. Yeah, that was good, you know. You know, we talked about Michael Jackson, Barmy Mix burning down and everybody. Somebody's replied on, Sheila Doherty had replied to me on Facebook saying, "My lads went in there," she said, "it kept us in red rattle for about 5 years after that. They went for the Cardinal Red, what used to
Yeah,
do.
Dido said so.
And everybody got stuff out of it.
Red
you know.
Rattle, yeah. That's it.
My mate Buzz Hawkins, who does the Bradshaws, I told Buzz about it. I said, "Do us a favour. It's my mum's birthday. and I give him some background. That's all I had to do with Buzz, give him a few words and stuff that he'd done. So he did the thing with Billy Bradshaw. Oh, that's Mary Fielder. I remember her. She's a burglar. She broke she broke into Barmy Mix. Buggered off, Billy. Oh, I'm telling you, Dad. Oh, leave him alone, Billy, love. Stop casting nasturtiums on good like these, like Freddie's mother. And he went and I played it for him, and Mum, she collapsed laughing. She thought it was tremendous. Don't see much of Buzz now. I've not seen him for ages. I hope the Bradshaws is still going.
I saw him live once, I think it was at St Sebastian's.
Yeah.
For a charity concert.
They still play the Bradshaws, Salford City Radio.
Do they?
They will do.
Every now and again they play.
Do you know
Yeah,
Buzz
they
won't
probably
charge him a carrot for that?
Yeah.
He does it all, and he actually delivers them personally to the station, the tapes, but they're probably on CD now or whatever. And he used to bring him down when I was at BBC GMR. I'd bring him down, leave him on reception, these are Fred. He went out of his way to do it, never charged a carrot, but it put his name there in lights, and everybody knew the Bradshaws, Buzz Hawkins. So next time it was advertised, the Bradshaws here on Friday night, Haywood Civic Centre or whatever, packed out. People loved it. Especially people our age, because nostalgia's a big thing, isn't it? We look back on things and laugh. At the time, they were dead serious. But now you can look back on them and laugh.
Yeah.
Like when you used to play Catch a Girl, Kiss a Girl. There's a girl there called Bonnie Adderley, who lived in Garnett Street, and she was the world's worst runner. Everybody could catch Bonnie Adderley. There's another one as well. I can't remember. Gloria Whitworth. Yeah, and Johnny Wynn, he was a mate of mine as well. He was a lad. Sadly, he's gone as well. You know, when you look back, old age is a privilege extended to only a few, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I've been weighing you and Carl up because both of you don't look very well.
Oh, nice. But we was filming in the cemetery the other week.
Yeah.
And he said to me, is it worth going home?
You might as well stop while you're here, Tony. You don't look well. But I've done that when I've done eulogies for people that have died. I always start the conversation by saying, well, I've had a good look round and none of you look well. I wonder who's going to be next. Is it you? Yeah, could be you. And they're like that, you know. And then they start laughing. They realise that it's all done in jest. But
in serious, Fred, we're all going to meet our demise. Obviously. Have you any plans for your funeral? I know it's a bit deep, that question. You have a massive send-off?
Well, the first guy that inspired me was Peter Sellers, because when the curtains closed, first of all, I don't want to be cremated. I've been burned twice, once in a balloon and once on a bonfire. So I'm for burial, me. Yeah. Peter Sellers, when the curtains closed, the music, In the Mood. Now, he was the first one I know of. Countless people have had Frank Sinatra singing My Way, haven't they? It's a bit old hat now.
Passe.
Yeah, but
Didn't like him.
as regards a piece of music that I'd like from, I've never really given it much thought because I've got money, you see, and somebody said to me, yeah, they said to me, it's no good, you can't take it with you. Well, this is where I win, because if I can't take it with me, I ain't going. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to be like what William Shatner's just said. He thinks he's immortal, doesn't he? Captain Kirk. He said, I'm 90 odd now. I have no intention of dying. But you get into that. I just lost me mother-in-law there, Joan, you know. She was 95 and she's a belting woman, Joan's mother. And she was a friend as well. That bench outside that's got a little memorial to her saying, to my friend Joan Owen. She was 95. She had a good age and all the rest of it. But what is a good age now? Because 90 is like the new 70, isn't it? The new 80. People are living a lot longer. The thing that I despair of, I'm okay, you're okay, but our children's children, yeah, they're going to be right in stuck, aren't they, with this brave new world and all the rest of it, because there's going to be now left. The population now, what is it, nearly 8 billion, isn't it? And in 1950, I think it was only 3.5 billion. It's doubled.
The Chinese are allowed to... I'm allowed to say the Chinese again.
Oh, yeah, Chinese
They can have 3 children now.
At one time, they could only have 1.1. Yeah. I'd like to see what the 0.11 looked like.
I could say something very...
You say it. Go on. Publish and be damned.
It'd be the one child, wouldn't it? But no.
The one child. Oh, jeez.
Something. I'm saying nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Your mortality. Never thought we'd end up talking.
I think once you get over 60, you question your own mortality. You start thinking, like one day, it just clicks. You wake up and your elbow clicks and your knee clicks and your back clicks and your feet get neuropathy.
Yeah,
and
it's time to go home, isn't it?
yeah, you can't get up out of the chair and it's terrible. I've got Jo, I'm lucky she can put me socks on. But I say to her, hey, put them on me, not on you. So she puts me socks on for me because I've had 2 knee replacements. I've got steel knees, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a dynamic superhero, me, with my steel knees.
Dad's had both his done.
Who is?
My dad had both his done. Still complains over it.
I'll bet he can't kneel down.
He can't.
They don't
Yeah,
tell you
stand
that.
up.
They don't tell you that though. When you've had a knee repair, it's very, very difficult to kneel down on, and you can't. If you've had 2 knees done, you can't cross your legs because they're made to go that way, not that way. So you go up and down like that. So anybody that's having a knee, best thing I ever did, by the way, because I used to be in bed and I'd get pain in my knees. Now, since I've had the replacement, Jim Doyle did one, and an Egyptian guy, Mr. Boutros at Salford Royal, did the other one. About how long ago, Joe? Was it 3 years ago? 4 years ago, say, because time flies, I'm hopeless on time. And he did me legs. And I says, that's an interesting name, Mr. Boutros. Where's your country? He said, Egypt. I said, all right, you're doing me knee then? He said, yeah. I said, well, work like an Egyptian. And it went right over his head. He said, of course I will, of course I will. Work like an Egyptian.
I don't think I said that to the man who's going to put me under the anaesthetic and a knife.
They tried to give me an epidural. And I'll tell you what, if I was a Gestapo and I wanted you to give me information, all I'd do is get a needle and stick it so till I found the nerve in your back. You'd tell me everything I wanted to know. It's the most painful thing that's ever happened. And this doctor goes, right, DJ, I'm going to give you an epidural. You'll be fine. Right, yes, Welshman. I'm going to give you an epidural now, no problem. And he's like, he pricked me about 19 times. And he says, I'm having trouble finding this. I says, well, why don't we go for general? Yes, my thinking, exactly, we go for general. And I thought, they very easily swayed the Indians. I took control of this Cessna 174 flying from Mumbai over to Bangaram Island in the Lakshadweep, and I was chatting to this fellow. His name, funnily enough, was
Quantum leap, this isn't it, from epidurals?
Yeah, but I'm telling you about the fella, Captain Ranganathan. And I said to him, I fly also aircraft in this. So he went like that, which is a signal like, okay, you have control. He's in the left seat and I'm sat in the right seat. So I've got control. He says, I says, can you do aerobatics? No. I said, a little bit of right look. Okay. He said, bit of right rudder and that. Fantastic. And when we're coming in, I'm looking at the radar and it's magenta. Now, any pilot will tell you, if you're flying north and you see that magenta area and it's in the north, you don't go into it. It's a storm, it's a thunder, it's murder. So I'm looking at him and it's getting darker and darker, this magenta colour. I says, Captain Renee, do we proceed? And he looked at me, he said, what are you thinking? He said, what would you do? I said, well, I wouldn't, not. My thinking exactly. So he turned around back to, we went back to Agatti Airport. And I thought, if I hadn't have said that, would he have carried on flying? And then they call it pilot error. Of course, everything's pilot error. Yeah. If you stopped in bed that morning and didn't go to work, you wouldn't be a pilot error, would you? There wouldn't be a problem. It's daft, but everybody gets a rip of it. Somebody's been saying on Facebook recently, I was reading it about various people like Derek Quinn, who was a big pal of ours, and Freddie and the Dreamers. And I knew them all. There was Derek Quinn, there was Pete Birrell, there was Roy Crutzen, there was Freddie Garrity, and there was Bernie Dwyer. Those were the original members of Freddie and the Dreamers. Anything else is an imposter. Now, people are going out as the Dreamers. It's nothing at all to do with it.
The original Dreamers, wasn't it?
But
twice removed.
Yeah. The thing is, what I compare it to is the Drifters. Do you remember the Drifters?
No, Johnny Moore.
Johnny Moore was a big pal. Johnny was great, but he was terrible to interview. He spoke very fast like that. You see, Freddie? I said, Johnny, slow down, slow down. Oh, I'm sorry, Freddie. Yeah, but as I was saying, he raced when he did an interview. But if I saw the Drifters and Johnny Moore was with them, I'd go. If it was there was 3 sets of Drifters doing the tour of UK once.
Three lots of the full tops.
But it's like Manchester United. I'm sorry, but I've got to mention this. When I was a schoolboy, my hero was Duncan Edwards, Roger Byrne, Tommy Taylor, David Pegg, Dennis Violet, all the boys.
The babes. Yep.
And then in 1958, February the 6th, the Munich air disaster, which didn't happen in the air. It happened 3 times. And I've got this first standoff, Albert Scanlon, who was a pal, and Jackie Blanchflower and Jeannie, who were pals. And he said to me, Jackie, he said, he said, I saw this giant figure hovering over me. And it lifted me up as if it was a rag doll, carried me away from the aircraft, put me down, said, I've got to go back. There's a woman there with a young baby. And he said, that fellow, he said, was Harry Gregg. Yeah. He said, and he laid me down and that. And Jeannie, Jackie's wife, said to me, Fred, he's never even mentioned that to me all the time we've been married. He's never mentioned it. And I feel that he had to tell somebody.
Yeah,
it was me that he
of
told. I
course.
couldn't get rid of him. He'd been at our house all day. And it was 12 o'clock at night and this party had started 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, Jackie, go home. I'm tired out. He said, look at him, Jeannie, look at him. Look, he's falling asleep while I'm talking to him. And then he got me attention when he told me that story. And then he got up, he says, right, he said, I'm going to the toilet. And I looked at him and she looked at me, Jeannie, had tears in his eyes.
He
remembered it all,
Imagine
yeah.
being on that.
So after that, as regards football, never interested. It was 9pence at Old Trafford when I went there. And after that, after my hero, Tommy Taylor, died, so did football. I still follow rugby, Union and League. I like watching a good rugby match. I even watched the match the other night with City and Chelsea. You know, watched that. And so did we both. I'm not a football fan, but it was entertaining in that.
Right,
I mean, in my heart of hearts, although I would have liked Manchester City to come back with the trophy. You know, but I'm a mauve. I support the Reds and the Blues. Put them together.
A purple.
Yeah. Anybody that sort of like represents... It's a pity we've not got Salford in the FA Cup, innit? Mind you, it's early days yet. It's early days.
Don't forget the stadium.
Yeah.
After the new stadium. Can we mention that stadium?
Yeah.
Well, what do you know about the new stadium?
He knows too much, Fred.
Oh, I could tell you things, but...
Tell us, you can either answer me questions here, sunshine, or down at the station.
I can't
Does it
say.
sound like Len
For
Starkey
legal
then?
reasons,
Starkey.
and some illegal reasons as well.
Really? You never know when we try. Do you want one of these sandwiches?
No, I'm going to have
Are they
one
the
of them.
ones from
Excellent.
Are they from the Illyrian?
Yasu Naftiko. Endaxi. What's the other word now? Oh,
Domestos.
Efaristo. Means thank you. Calamera. Good day or good morning.
Oh, well.
I always pick up a little bit of language, whatever country I go to. I always learn to say please and thank you and where can I get a bed or I'm hungry.
Yeah.
This fellow once said to me, in Pakistan, I was in Lahore.
What are
And
you
you said-
doing in my room?
No, he says to me, Fred, if you wish, I will teach you some swear words. I said, no, I don't want to know, please. Anwar Nadeem, his name is. Anwar, I don't want to know. Why? It's only a bit of fun. I said, well, the only reason I'd use that is against one of your fellow citizens, and I don't want to do that. I want to be, polite with them. We went to a restaurant yesterday, the Lahore Badshah, the bottom of Cheetham Hill Road, me and Joe. Had a great meal there, and we got chatting to these two. Didn't we, Joe? These two lads yesterday.
Do you think they'd sponsor one of our talks?
I don't know.
Well, carry on.
It's in Manchester anyway.
No.
Bottom of Cheetham Hill Road. And we met these two guys, what was his name? Essen and Assad. Those were the names of them. They were car dealers. And they were trying to tell this fella that I want some Royal Ella Chai. My Urdu's not up to much there. And I said, Ella Chai. And he looked at me. Ella Chai is like cardamom in tea. It's lovely. Anyhow, he heard me count and he turned around and he spoke in fluent Urdu and so on. So like, shape yourself. He's asking for the cardamom cup of tea. Come on, bullet. Anyhow, it's there. But it takes about 20 minutes to make. And he brought the tea back. And we must have been chatting to him for about 4 hours, me and Joe, after he'd had the meal.
4 hours?
Honest. 4 hours we were talking to him for ages about putting the world to rights. And he opened my eyes a bit. I said, how do you respond to that one that not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslim? And he put me right now. He said, well, yeah, he said to me, he said, it's, do you know what that is? I said, what? He said, gutter press. I've said it loads of times, the journalists never let the truth get in the way of a good story. But it was a very interesting conversation about everything, very, very well read about his own culture and his own history. And, you talk to we talk about partition with Mohammed Al-Jinnah and what's his face, Mountbatten, making a complete hash of the partition in 1947. But Mohammed Al-Jinnah was dying, he was terminally ill with cancer. And Mountbatten, from what I can gather, didn't give a bugger. And they have this problem. There was a lot of people killed during partition, and it turned the Hindus against the Muslims and all that. I don't know. But it's too political to get involved in.
You're very deep for a Broughton lad, aren't you, Fred?
Yeah, well, I was just listening to it. I like it. I love conversation. I think the nicest music in the world is conversation. If I go in a pub and there's music on a jukebox, I won't go in, I come out. I go in to have a chat with people, and I don't want to watch football on the telly in a pub. I can watch it in there with a six-pack. I don't have to go anywhere like that. It's daft. I don't even like football, so what am I going on about? But the thing is that if you're going, watching the TV, watch it in your own home. Don't go somewhere. It's antisocial. You go in a pub and they're all like that. watching telly. The only reaction you get is if one of their teams get a goal. It's crazy, isn't it? Did you watch the Manchester City Cup? You're not as blue, are you?
I had my Chelsea kit on.
There you are.
And I did a Cockney walkabout, a Cockney knees up.
You can speak Cockneyese
I
as well.
had the jellied eels.
Boiled beef and carrots.
Oh, a lot. A lot. But
Do you know, I used to-
even got my pearly suit out of the wardrobe, Fred.
When I worked at Whiskey a Go in London, I used to go and have pie and mash.
Oh, and liquor.
Yeah, you get liquor with it and all that.
Yeah.
And I tried jelly deals. There used to be a bloke with an anchor Piccadilly Circus right near here.
Was it his name? Tubby Isaacs?
Sounds a
like-
bit.
Tubby Isaacs, he was the most famous jelly eel salesman in
Oh, I
London.
don't know. I never got. I only ever bought one portion, and I wasn't impressed.
No, I've had it.
They're full of jelly and all that, but they're not. They're tasteless.
Slithery, aren't they? Bit rubbery.
Slithery, like Roy J.
Slithery.
Slither.
Have we got any comments, Carl? Anything?
We've a few, yeah, but they've all scrolled up, so I'll have
Well.
to scroll through in a minute and find
Is there anything libelous, slanderous? Anything that'll keep us amused?
Just one that says, do you not think Tony's getting a little bit of weight on eating
Yeah.
all that?
Yeah, well, he will do.
You ignore them, fatty.
I will do. Tubs.
You come to you want to keep fit with me.
I prefer to think him as gravitationally challenged.
Yeah. That's another thing.
I don't know.
I mean, you're bad on your pins now, and I think I've watched you walk, and I think it's your right leg that gives you the jip,
Cheers, Fred.
not your left, because I can tell by your gait. I
Your
don't
wallet,
mean your
so-
garden gait. I mean the way you walk.
We'll have to put the wallet on the hip now to balance it, counterbalance it.
But
Fred.
seriously, get your knee replaced. Get it done. It's the best thing that ever happened to me because now I don't get any pain. You can't run and anything. But I mean, 70-odd-year-old. We don't want you to be doing any running, do you?
No.
Or should we go and run after a few girls, catch a girl, kiss a girl?
What was her name? They couldn't run.
Bonnie Adderley. She married
Bonnie
Robert
Adderley.
Adderley from our school. Yeah, nice girl though. She had a brother called Johnny. She was one of a twin. But you could tell them apart because
I was an only twin, Fred.
because she had a moustache. Bonnie had a moustache. Was you the only twin?
Sadly, I was an only twin. Peter Cook's memoir, that, I'll just say.
You put a thing on Facebook once, a picture, and you said, "Does anybody get anything out of this?" And I wrote back to you. Well, I put it on Facebook. The two on the top row were my brother and sister, John and Louise, who were twins.
Yeah.
I said on the bottom row on the right is my cousin Dave and Cliff, and they're twins.
St Thomas's.
That's right.
Was it 13 sets of twins or something in one school?
Catholic family, weren't they?
Yeah, true. And winter nights were harsh.
Oh, no telly either.
No.
Well, only 3 channels. Or was it 3 or 2?
Three. If you had money.
Big one, big
ITV. Yeah.
Do you remember rediffusion where you had a thing behind the curtain, you used to click,
Oh.
click, click, click?
A, B, C, D for light programme and all
And those tellies you had to put a shilling in.
that. Yeah, remember them with
Sorry, 5 pence. You had to put a shilling in, didn't you? To keep watching the programme.
Rediffusion.
And then at the end of the night, you'd watch the epilogue, and you'd still watch it till the white spot vanished at the end of it. Click.
You know, I was thinking of the other night, we mentioned about cinemas and films. I remember going very early when the Royal Cinema on Fitzwarren Street, long gone, next to Moses Bakery, and my dad. The film had ended, he went, "Get up quick."
Before the Queen.
For the Queen.
It used to be a race for the exit.
Yeah, I thought the picture house was on fire.
Not right, that was it, to Her
But
Majesty.
people were standing up.
Diving before the Queen. And if you caught halfway, you...
Pretending you hadn't, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like out of Trap 1 and 6.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I remember them doing that in the Rialto, but I don't remember them doing that in the county. They probably did. But the Rialto was the posher of the two. It was at 2 and 9 on the back seat there.
Rialto
And
was
if
a
you-
super cinema.
Yeah, it was lovely. I used to know all the managers who were there and the
I've got
staff.
to tell you this. Showing off. Interviewed John Cooper Clarke a good few years ago in Liverpool. And we were talking about cinemas and related things in Broughton.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about his dad. He said he wasn't one, he was more of a pub bloke. not for one
George's
of-
dad, George.
He said, we went to the Rialto, see a film. So we sat down and it's just got comfortably ensconced, curtain opened, and the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer lion roaring.
Leo.
And John used to say,
Ask gratias.
his dad used to stand up and say, "I've seen this," walk out.
He was a nutter, George. He used to go in, this is John Cooper Clarke's dad, he used to go in Sid and Harry. Sid and Harry, it was Sid and Aubrey Goldberg, but they traded as Sid and Harry in the Rialto Barbers. Because that block, you had the Whiskey a Go-Go, Higher Broughton Assembly Rooms,
Yeah.
you had all the entourage and shops underneath and down the side. It was actually called collectively the Rialto Buildings. And George, I can see him now, George Cooper Clarke. I don't think he was called Cooper Clark. I think he was just George Clark.
Yeah.
I don't even know where John got them. But he was called himself that at school.
Yeah.
But I don't know where the Cooper came from.
Gary.
Might have been his mother's maiden name.
Possible, yeah.
John Cooper Clark. But I remember him coming to school and he had these pants on. We were doing games at Littleton Road. We used to call it cross-country running in Salford. And we'd go cross-country running down Littleton Road and he had these shorts. But because they were baggy and he wanted to be a bit trendy, he tapered them. So they looked like drain pipes, but they went down to his kneecaps. And he washed them, thinking I'll get these ready. And he put them in with a red jersey. And he ended up with a pair of pink shorts. Well, he looked it right. All the girls were whistling out the window. Woo, Johnny! Very shy he was then. He's come out of himself a bit since then over the years, hasn't he? When he did that, tell him about the honey, mommy.
Oh, yeah.
With the sugar puffs
Honey
monster.
Monster,
It's brilliant in that. With Henry McGee, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in a
Straight man for Benny Hill. And Charlie Drake with The Worker.
The Worker.
Do you remember it?
The Worker. Mr. Pugh.
Mr. Pugh. Good crack, wasn't it? The only thing I watch on the telly now, Tony, is Dad's Army. Everything else is garbage. And I don't like this Apollo stand-up comics because they don't get a laugh until they use the F word. I don't like
I watched
that.
them last night, funnily enough. It was live at the Apollo, the three comedians on. Oh, very modern. It was entertaining-ish.
Were they?
Yeah.
I like the American guys. They're usually quick on humour. They're very good. They're quite funny. But they all think... Oh, that'll be the phone.
Hang on.
That'll be Neil Armstrong for me.
This is just to show it's live.
Yeah.
Billy, I can't answer you, mate. Oh, that was Billy. Billy Nolan. Sorry, Billy.
When I worked, I was DJing at the Prestley Working Men's Club. But if you come from Kersley, Stoneclough, it's called
Club, yeah.
Prestley Working Men's Club.
Wicked.
Working Men's Club. It's flat now, it's finished.
Yeah.
This was 1973. And I've got the music, I'm playing this. I was playing the Doobie Brothers. Oh, listen to the music. You remember it?
No. The slow
I'm playing
train coming.
that. Yeah. And Albert Thorpe, who was a committee man.
Gee, sorry. Does he not watch the live shows, Billy?
Albert Thorpe, who was a committee man, had a suit on which was navy blue with 1 inch broad stripes on it. Those big take-off lapels that they used to wear in their films like Now Voyager. And he's got one of them on. I'll get through this story, Cal. He's got one of them on.
Billy.
Right. And as he's doing it, he's got this bit of Brill cream on his forehead, but he's combed his hair and he's passed the comb through the Brill cream, so he's got this white plough mark on his forehead where the Brill cream was. And he's got a daft haircut, short back and sides and some off the top like you used to have in there. But he'd never gone forward, he was a real old-fashioned. And he come up to me, he said, "Nah, stop the music now. Whoa, listen to the what? Stop the music now. Whoa." So stopped it. "Yeah, give me a microphone. Nah. So I gave him his Shure Unidime, Mark 38. Here you go. "Nah, listen to me," said he. "There's somebody in here with a noxious substance. I can smell it. There's somebody in here smoking piranha." Well, he tickled me. I said, "Albert, you can smoke kippers or herrings. You can't smoke a piranha." "Never you mind." He said, "and the music's not going back on till that person owns up." Well, if there was somebody smoking a bit of weed, you're not going to own up, are you? No. I think we were an hour with no music on, they're all whinging. And then one of the higher committee men come forward and said, "Albert, leave it. Okay, put the music back up." Whoa! It was still on the turntable, same record. That was a day in the, when you
paid though, Fred?
Oh, yeah. Good lad. I always got paid. The guy that was running it was called Ronnie Tong. And he used to come down to the baker and he says to me, "Nah," he says, like they do, "Nah, pal," which was the introductory words meaning, "Hello there." "Nah, pal, I skied a minute." I said, "I just want borrow one." He said, "Aye, come here." There's more. "Come here, Jimmy." He said, "Fancy doing a club? It's called Prestley Working Men's Club in Stoneclough, Kersley, just behind Thayer and Thowns."
Affiliated?
"Yeah, affiliated." I said, "What's the money like?" And he told me it wasn't great, something like 15 quid a night or whatever. I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." But they were all young kids. They weren't like, there was a bar there, and all the old fellas, they were probably about 24-year-old at the time, they were all at the bar.
That's old for kids.
Yeah, and the kids were at me dancing in front of me, and they're probably 15, 16 and that, doing it. I used to play Tiger Feet by Mud. The flash, I said to Ronnie Chong, watch this in the book. It's ding, 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 you know, Les Gray and Mud. Yeah. And they jumped on the dance floor. It was like Chipperfield Circus. It was brilliant. And that was the one that always got them at it. Mud. Tiger Feet. That's right, that's right, that's right, that's right. I really love your Tiger Light.
Ballroom Blitz, the Sweet, that was another one. That got won it.
That was glam rock though, wasn't it? Yeah. Like I always liked, I used to use Gary Glitter's Rock and Roll Part 2, but it wasn't Gary, it was the instrumental side. And
that was a great tune, that, you know, I thought. Really
I used to do Laurel and Hardy to it. If you ever listen to Rock and Roll Part 2, I used to do it when I was doing the rundown about what was happening during the week in my next, you know, as a sound bed when you're on the radio. And it was just the Glitter band that did it, not Gary Glitter. And it was a great number. And then what does he go and do? He starts messing about with young kids and all that nonsense. There's a lot of it going on at the time, but they're in a situation, Top of the Pops and all that lot, where these young girls at Dickinson Road, Harry Goodwin, he was a pal of mine, he was the photographer on Top of the Pop. He says to me, he said, you know, it was terrible. He said, and Harry Goodwin, he always reminded me of Stuart Granger in The Swordsman of Siena. He looked like Stuart Granger. He says, you want to see the way those young girls sold themselves at the disc jockeys? I said, what night's it on? I'll pop down. He said, no, you got to be well known. You got to be somebody like Dave Lee Travis, or you got to be somebody like, you know, who was the flavour of the month and that. Emperor Roscoe. Emperor Roscoe never did Top of the Pops.
I liked him.
Yeah. Mike Pasternak.
Yeah,
Mike Pasternak. What was it he used to say?
Roscoe Roadshow.
Hey, talking's on the 10th hour. It's 53 degrees and 15 minutes for the Big Boss Hour. And where were you when the sound was number 11111?
Arthur Conley, Sweet Soul Music. That was Roscoe's theme, but it wasn't him. He copied that off Bob Smith. Now, Bob Smith was an American guy on WYBX in Chicago, and his name was Wolfman Jack.
Yeah.
Roscoe copied everything off him, and I had an interview when I was stateside with Bob Smith, with Wolfman Jack on WIBX. And I'm at the Exxon garage putting some gas in this Chevy Citation that I've hired. And I'm putting the gas in, and there's a big sign above saying Exxon. And there's a bloke there that you go and pay your money to after you pump your gas and what have you. And I've got the radio on. And Wolfman Jack,
hey, I gotta tell you, everybody, we got a guy from the BBC coming in to say hello to us. His name's Fred Fielder, and he's got some things to say from the United Kingdom, so stay tuned.
Just as he said that, honest, you couldn't have written this. There's an earthquake, which was quite prevalent, only a gentle one, and I looked up, and the sign like that's going like that. The attendant come running out and said, everybody okay, everybody okay? I thought, what the hell was that? I've never been in an earthquake before, but it wasn't violent, but it was enough to shake you up. Next thing, his voice comes on the radio, Wolfman Jack.
Now, if you don't get out of bed, I'm going to do that again.
Sharp as a razor, brilliant. I wish I'd have said that. Mind you, I probably will, should it ever happen again. I'll copy it. There's nothing new. But he always claimed, he said, there's a guy come over there to the United Kingdom, I believe he tries to emulate me. I said, yeah, that'll be Emperor Roscoe. That's the guy. He said, that's the guy. But Mike Pasternak, his dad was a famous producer, you know, Joe Pasternak, Hollywood producer. Yeah. So in his own right, and he's still going today, Roscoe, and I still like his stuff that he does. But I like him when he's doing his, hey, talk, when he's doing that. I don't like him when he's being straight.
Yeah.
He used to do Roscoe's Round Table on Radio 1, and he was very placid then, and he lost it, he didn't do it.
Some DJ chap, he sent his regards. Was it Dave Eager?
Oh, Dave, big pal of mine, yeah. We did the.
Did you get that message he sent you?
I get loads of messages. He rings me up.
Something about 30 quid, you know, I don't know.
He rang me the other day, and there's never a short time with Dave. It's always about an hour. Oh, no, he looks at his thing. He says, right, we've only got 2 minutes now. My hour's nearly up. So he's on this free phone thing. I don't know what it is and what have you, but we always have a good chat. Always we talk about the same things and the same stuff, and he's very much involved with equity. You know, he puts things on us under this guise of a guy called Nigel Cecil. And he makes a lot of very valid, good points and makes them crystal clear. I'm all for that crystal clear English, you know. I don't like that. The aforesaid mentioned and the afore, you know, like when you need. I can't do with that, mate. All the legalities and that. I like it to be
straight. Thing, what's it called? The Society of Correct English or something, where they do away with all the bull.
Yeah, crystal.
Yeah.
real
So it is
English
Crystal, is
type
it?
thing.
Is that the
Yeah,
one? Yeah.
daft, innit? I mean, a spade's a
Yeah.
spade. Innit?
Yep. I'm not going with
Well,
the
I don't know. I can't think of any other words for once. So.
shovel.
Shovel.
Shovel. there you
Spade's
go.
a shovel.
Spade's a shovel.
I used to like
Just don't mention the Chinese.
Hilda Baker, you know. I met her once down at Granada. Hilda Baker. And you might think, you big girl's blouse, you. I've never met anyone who was so facetious to people in all my life. She used to have a pink Rolls Royce going in at the gates, Hilda Baker.
Don't we all?
But she was a right funny bugger. She could really have a go at somebody. She very short fuse and that. I met them all these people. I met what's his face, Amanda Barry, you know, that was in Coronation Street as Alma Briggs.
like a
Johnny
Dolly-
Briggs, not
Dolly-
Alma Briggs, Alma Baldwin. Mike Baldwin.
Dolly Bird, aren't she?
Yeah.
Want of an ex.
Wasn't she in Carry On films?
Yeah. She was Carry On Cleo.
Didn't she? Cleo.
Yeah. Good looking woman, big eyes and all that lot, but I believe she didn't like fellas.
What she was?
Yeah.
Protestant.
Protestant. Yeah. She didn't like fellas. I think she preferred the
Sensible
company of
shoes.
ladies.
Sensible shoes.
I saw her once in Granada. I was going down the corridor. I've been chatting to, I can't remember his name, but he's dead well known at the time, a producer. And I was with
Johnny
him.
Amp.
No, Johnny. I used to do gigs with
Throw a
Johnny.
name in, he's away, isn't it?
I used to get Johnny and his lovely wife Vi. Johnny used to bring his projector slide thing and all that, and he'd bring all these things, what he did with Morecambe and what he was built. And I used to dinner suited up. I was the compere, and there was myself, Johnny, and Vi. He always brought his missus with him. He used to go. We did one at Boysen up down here. Last one I did with him, but I did quite a few. Did one at Taylor Brothers on near Morehouse. Yeah, and a few of them that I did when Billy Jolly had it. Billy Jolly had Taylors. And we're down there doing this thing, and he's doing his Morecambe, and the people that he's met, and all the Beatles, and he's got slides, and this is when I met so-and-so, and I'd be the voice of the audience, and I'd be asking him questions like, what were they like, the Beatles? Was there any particular one that wasn't? No, I said they were all fine, decent blokes and all that lot. And I was asking questions. I said, well, give us a lowdown. Who was it that you didn't like? And he told me about 3 different people that he didn't like, and out of those 3, there was 2 of them that I'd interviewed, and I didn't like either.
Spill the beans, Fred.
Well,
Spill
no,
the beans.
I can't do it, to be honest with you.
Write it down on the back of a kebab.
I'll do that. I'll write it down for you, but I can't say anything like it's derogatory, innit? It's not only that, it's slander. Was it slander that's a written word, or what's the libel?
Slanderous when you speak it, isn't it?
I think slanders speak.
Speak and libel.
Libel's written.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I can't even write it down on the back of that kebab now, can I?
It's not a kebab, Fred. It's a...
You started it.
It's a
You said
Messalonian
kebab, you
sausage
said
roll.
write it down, didn't you? You said write it down on the back of that kebab.
Irvis, you don't have kebabs, do you?
Hey, you got to
Thank
have a
you.
good memory to be a liar. Just remember that, will you? Write it down on the back of that kebab. I never said kebab. He did, honest.
He did.
Ilian restaurant, he did say that you...
Scan back. It's
Yeah.
on the camera doesn't lie.
Irvis.
Yeah, Irvis. He calls your phyllo pastries kebabs. And you know as well as I do that they're not kebabs.
Blacklist him.
Yeah, I think you should.
That's terrible.
I've got a thing here that I wrote down about. There was a story that I got told off about. When we're in the pubs, if you're with a load of fellas, this is true, this. I've got to dress this up. I know that Salfordians will realise what the true word was, but I'm dressing it up because I don't like filth.
Yeah,
We're all in the pub. It was the Grove pub, which is the borderline between Salford and Manchester on Bury New Road. Boddington's house.
big pub, that wasn't it? Remember
Oh,
that?
massive
Yeah.
pub, yeah. George Washington, not the
not the
he was the landlord. Oh no, Reginald George Washington, that was his full name. And we're in there.
Good football team then.
Yeah, me, Keith Dyson, Rod Ford, and all the rest of it. And Rod gets a bit indignant. We're all chatting and all the rest of it. And he said, "Hey, what's that you've got there?" He said, "Nitrous oxide." "What's that?" "Poppers." "What?" "Poppers." "What do you do with it?" "You just have a sniff of it." So he got this bottle out and he had a sniff of it. And he said, "Pass it round." And it doesn't hit you for about 5 or 10 seconds. And then have you ever tried it? You start laughing. Nitrous oxide it
It's
is.
laughing gas, isn't it?
And I'm falling about laughing with this thing. Nobody knows what we're all laughing at. And after that, he says to us, "What is it about a load of fellas? Whenever you're together in a group, you always have to turn the subject to sex." So I looked like that, and he looked very indignant, Rod, you know. He was a very straight-laced sort of fella. He says, "Why don't you change the subject?" So Keith says, "Well, go on then, change the subject, change the subject." He says, "Right," he said, "let's talk about gardening." So Keith said,
have you ever made love in a wheelbarrow? But he didn't say it like that.
Yeah.
You know, well, we collapsed. We all fell about laughing. But that was one of the stories that sticks in my mind. When you said to me the other day about pub stories, and the other one was I got barred from a pub for telling it was in the bridge down Lower Broughton, and it was in the mixed room with all the girls and all the rest of it. And I thought it was quite innocuous, but he said, "Don't come in again with that sort of language." And I don't swear. And he says to me, "What's that joke? That famous joke?" I said, "Oh, I'll tell you." He says, my Auntie Kath used to live in Pink Bin Lane, Gorton, just by the side of Bellevue Zoo. I said, a lot of you won't remember that, but a lot of you my age will know that Bellevue's like going on holiday. It was the best place ever to be in the Northwest. Bit like Alton Towers of the time. Anyway, I'm at my auntie's, and she said, "Oh, Fred, I'm so glad you've come. Quick, come through to the back." She said, "There's a gorilla up the tree." I said, "What?" She said, "There's a gorilla up the tree and it's throwing leaves down on me washing. I just put my washing out. I look up, there's a massive gorilla. What they call them silverback things." I said, "Give over." I thought she'd been on the gin, you know. Anyhow, I went out and looked. Wow! And this massive gorilla. I said, "It's come from the zoo. It's come from the..." "How do you know?" I said, "Well, with you living next door to the zoo and they're not being sort of like..."
Indigenous to the area.
Yeah. So anyway, she said, "Right, what should I do?" I says, "Give us 4p, quick, I'll go to the phone box on the corner." So I went to the phone box. I went, "Hello, could I speak to the head zookeeper, please?"
Speaking, how can I help you?
"Well, I might be able to help you."
What's the problem?
"I'll tell you what the problem is. Have you got a gorilla that's escaped?"
Shh! Keep your voice down, keep your voice down. Why have you said that?
I says, "Because it's in my Auntie Kath's backyard in Pink Bin Lane." "Oh, right. What number?" I said, "Number 22. Stay where you are, stay where you are. Don't antagonise it. Don't go near it. Stay well away. We'll send a car round." Next thing, within 5 minutes, a Morris Minor plainclothes van pulls up. No signs on it at all. Nothing written on it. No Bellevue Zoo rescue team or capture unit. None of that. Just a plain Morris Minor almond green van. So it pulls up, and this fella gets out of the van. He said, "Are you the... Sorry? Are you the chap that's reported the gorilla? Yeah, it's in my head." "Shh, keep your voice down. Don't want to cause any panic within the neighbourhood." I said, "Well, it's in the back now with my Auntie Kath. You want to see it?" So he gets out. He's got a double-barreled shotgun. I thought, oh. He's got a big safety net, and he's got a pointed stick. So we get past, he said, "I might need your assistance on this, son." Well, I was only about 38 then. I said, "How can I help you?" He said, "Well, what I want you to do," he said, "this is the modus operandi." I said, "What's that?" He said, "It's the way we're going to do it." I said, "Okay." He said, "I'm going to climb up that tree with this pointed stick and this net. And also, I've got something else in the back of the van." And he pulls this thing out. It's vicious, the most vicious Rottweiler I've ever seen in my life. He says, "It's all right as long as you've got it on the lead." I said, "Okay." And he brings it in. I says, "What's the instructions?" "I'm going to go up there." Keep your voice down. "I'm going to go up there with his pointer," and the gorilla's he's throwing leaves at us and everything, looking at good, doing that in gorilla language, which means, well, I won't tell you, but that's what it means in gorilla. So anyway, I'm looking at the gorilla and it's looking back down at me. He said, "I'm going to get up and poke it with this stick till it gets near the end of the bough where the foliage is greater." And I'll get the maid. Answer the door, will you, maid? All in the middle of my story. I can't stand that, you know. Sorry about that.
It'd be the RSPCA, this.
Yeah, it'd be the RSPCA.
It's not the selling license,
There's some
man.
monkeys outside in a cage.
Yeah.
You have, haven't you?
Yeah, I have a gorilla. So anyhow, he says to me, "Is there anyone for me, Joe?" "Oh, I'm going to get up there," he says, "with this stick and I'm going to prod the gorilla, because silverbacks are vicious, you know." I said, "Oh, I don't know, I've never had any experience with them before." He said, "I'll push it to the end of the foliage where the branches are at the weakest. At this point, it will fall to the ground." I said, "Yeah." He said, "At which I will throw this leaded net over it." I said, "Yeah." "And the gorilla will not be able to move. At this point, I will say to you, 'Loose!' which is the command for you to let go of the vicious Rottweiler." So what happens then? He said, "Well, the Rottweiler goes and clamps its jaws round a delicate part of the anatomy of the gorilla. and swings it through 180 degrees until the gorilla can stand no more and through sheer exhaustion actually faints. I said, okay, fine. I said, but what's the double-barrel shotgun for? He said, if I fall out of the tree, shoot the dog. And they stopped me going in the pub, said, you're not coming in again, coming up with dirty jokes like that. And I did it exactly the same. There was nothing vulgar about it. Oh, but I loved all that stuff. I loved the story. When you used to go out in a pub, unless you got all together in a group and that was part of drinking, wasn't it, the social side. And it's all changed now. Even when we were there, we had darts and dominoes and crib and all the rest of it, and 3-card brag and that. You could do that.
Don.
Yeah, but what happened was the women started wanting to come into the vault. And that, well, I'm sorry, but that's when it all changed. The vault wasn't the same anymore. Yeah. Who was it, darling?
It was a waterboard.
Waterboard.
Yeah.
Did they give us any?
No, that's something different.
All right, the waterboard. What do they want?
Pay the bill, I think.
They've done what?
They've done the repair down the road.
All right, they've done the repair down the road. Well, I had to threaten them, you know, with the water supply. We've had milky water coming out of the tap and low pressure. And apparently it's some pipe that's got hooked up in a JCB or something like that. Anyway, they fixed it. Aye. So that was the story I got done for. And I remember going in Billy Green's in Colliers once.
Billy Green's, that was a famous pub.
And Frank Lamar, Foo Lamar comes in. It was his regular. He loved Billy Green's, Frank. Frank Pearson is right.
Yep.
Nobody could run an auction like Foo Lamar. If you wanted somebody to get loads of money out of people, he was the man. He was brilliant, Frank. God bless him. Anyway, I'm in there on stage one night doing a bit of comparing and that, and they had a bloke on, and I just got to talk, I'm coming back from the talk, he says, hey, don't get me up. He said, don't get me up, don't get me up. I'm only in for a quiet drink, don't get me up. I said, okay. So I was getting other people up that was, Jeannie was there, Jeannie Park, she got up, a good chirper, good singer. And then somebody else got up and all the rest of it. And I says, right, we'll have another break for 5 minutes. And as I look across, Frank Lamar's at the, and he's looking at me, he's going, me, get me up, get me up. I says, well, being as nobody else wants to get up, his face was like thunder. I said, we'll have a break and I'll bring you up in the next bit. But he's adamant, I don't want to get up, He loved it. Yeah. He loved it. You know, the showbiz people, they get up at the drop of a hat and all that. They know that even though there's no money in it, they just want to get up and be noticed. What was it Mark Twain said? If they're talking about you, that's good. If they're talking about you and saying bad things, that's good. But when they're not talking about you, that's when you worry.
So, somebody, I don't know who it was that mentioned it, he said, would you ever go back to radio?
I'm too old. I'm 72 now. I know I don't look it. I mean, it's startling, isn't it? Like, I put a thing on Facebook before.
In the attic.
Yeah, Dorian. There was a thing on Facebook. Jimmy Potts had said he was with Jimmy Gause. And I put on it, like, asking him about when he was a Salford streaker in the Alligar back in 1973 or 74. So he said, well, we're in the air announced. He said, we've just been discussing that now and laughing about it. So I put underneath a footnote. I said, the funny, you know, the older I get, the more people tell me I look like Brad Pitt. I said, sad really, because in Jimmy's case, I expect he gets the same about Peter Lorre. And I looked at the picture as I was writing my caption, and it made me laugh. Anyhow, I sent that to him, so I'm waiting for a disgusting reply from Jimmy Gause. But I'll get together and go and have a pint with him in the Air and Hounds and all that.
Nice, that one, yeah.
Yeah, nice get-to.
I get Clark Gable end.
Do you?
Don't really, I just made that up.
Yeah, well, when we were younger, I think...
Bradford Pitt, was it?
Bradford Pitt, yeah. When we were younger, we always... age shall not weary them. But when you look upon it, when you look at these things when you was 18 and 19, I used to get up and put my brilliantine on, and I got my blaze jacket from St Andrew's School, and I cut the collar off, folded it in and ironed it with brown paper and soap on the other side. And I had myself a Beatle jacket. And I put this Beatle jacket on, and I put my sky blue jeans on with my 4-inch turn-ups, and I put my winkle pickers on with loads of Kleenex tissue rammed down the toe so it didn't get bent on when girls stood on my feet. And I was getting ready, and honest to God, Tony, I looked that good, I wanted to give myself one. Those were the days, and I'm going onto the fairground and they're playing the Locomotion, little everybody's doing the, and I'm like, it's going to knock them dead. But I didn't have the Beatle haircut. I had it swept back in a quiff. And there are certain people that Yeah. Certain people, look, when I was a youngster, they used to say, look dead like Elvis. Watch the lip. Oh, oh. But I used to have I had jet black hair and I had a quiff in it like that lot. And then, where's that? This do a party and some of my old flames were there. And this Barbie said to Joe, do you know he used to look like Elvis when he was... So she starts laughing, this miserable. I said, what are you laughing at? It was in my older days, when I was about 16, that people changed their opinion because I'd started combing my hair. I said, looks like Paul McCartney. I wish I could just look like myself. Or as Charles Lawton once said, why can't I be ugly like you? That was one of the best films ever, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, wasn't it?
Great
Anthony
film.
Hopkins did a quite passable cover version of that when he did The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I've not seen that one of him. No.
When they chased him up Regent Road, the Hunchback, he said, I've not got your ball.
That was the lunch pack.
But it was brilliant times, you know, with the old days and the theatre and the film. I remember seeing one called Mighty Joe Young with a gorilla. Do you remember it? And it was heartbreaking in the end because he gets shot and all that. Or he's on top of... What was King Kong where he's on top of the Empire State Building? Oh, it was sad.
What was it? Dumbo and his mum and the big ears swinging him.
Oh, yeah.
That was a bit of a tear.
And what about Flash
Bambi.
Gordon with a rocket going round in a circle and you could see the string holding up and it shoved a fizzy firework up its arse and it's going like that, 180 degrees. And Dr. Zarkov, Hans Zarkov, with his tights on with wrinkles in them, and Buster Crabbe with Dale Arden looking good.
Flesh Gordon. It's completely different.
Different one, that Flash Gordon. And Charles Middleton, Emperor Ming. Kill Flash Gordon. That was his line. You couldn't forget that, could you? Emperor Ming.
Every Saturday morning, Fred, between 9 and 12, talking pictures. You've got Flash Gordon, you've got Invasion of the Radar Men from Outer Space, or Commander Cody.
I love them.
You got
Talking
Champion
pictures.
Champion
The Wonder
Horse.
Champion, the Wonder Horse. My mate Frankie Lane sang that.
I know you know Frankie, don't you?
Like a streak of lightning flashing across the sky, like a super arrow whizzing from a bow. That was Frankie.
Was indeed.
Do you know they did? He told me this. You know, I was quite friendly with Frankie Lane before somebody sends pictures in of somebody laughing as if I'm making it all up. I was a big pal of Frankie's. I'd had him in my programme loads of times, and people that listen to me will verify this. And he said to me, do you know Freddie? He always called me Freddie. So I called him Frankie. He says, Freddie, call me Frankie. I said, Frankie, call me Fred. Freddie always sounds like I'm a bit, you know, Freddie. Like Freddie Laker. And
Freddie Frinton.
yeah, sugar in the morning, sugar in the... And he says to me, do you know, I got to tell you something. There is a guy, a Hollywood producer, and he got me, I didn't know at the time, but he got me doing a song, and he told me it was for a real Wild West production. Do you know what the song was? Blazing Saddles. Do you know who the dirty swine was? Mel Brooks. Yeah. And he told me
Brilliant
that.
film.
Yeah. Frankie Lane thought he was doing a genuine, but it's still a great number. He rode a blazing saddle, yeah. He said the whips were put in afterwards. They weren't put in during they were done afterwards. But Mel Brooks had him right over. Said, Frankie, what you do? We're doing this
He
thing.
got paid though, surely. And
Oh, of course he did.
in a way, it's not immortalised because he was already very famous, but he's gone down in history, won't he? As the man who sang Blazing Saddles.
Do you know what his favourite song was to sing, Frankie?
Ghost Riders in the Sky.
I Believe.
Oh, I believe.
I said to him,
I
Frankie,
believe- I believe.
all the songs you sing, what's your favourite one? That he said, without a doubt, straight away, I Believe. He said, I believe the words are beautiful. He said, I believe it. And he did also other stuff like The Man from Laramie. Jimmy Young did it. Rather so you'll see. The Man from Laramie.
The man who laughed at me.
Yeah, but the other fella that did it originally in High Noon was Tex Ritter. He never did High Noon. I made a vow while in state prison. Frankie never did that. Tex Ritter did it, but Frankie did the cover version that charted.
So one of my favourites, my mum used to have it in the house and play it. Oh, I think not to annoy me, but into Cool Water.
All day I face the barren
I'm getting
waste
flashbacks to. I'm getting
without
flashbacks
a
now.
taste of water.
Flashbacks to Two Cool.
Cool,
Keep
clear water. Yeah, keep a cup.
Keep it moving down. He's a devil, not a man. And he
Yeah.
spreads the burning sands with water.
Yeah, his lyrics were good. I made a vow while in state prison, said it would be my life or his'n. No, brilliant, I loved him. He belt, in fact, 93 when he died, on the operating table, having a hip replacement, under a general anaesthetic. You're due for one soon, aren't you, General?
Very soon, Fred. Very
Having
soon.
your knees done?
Both of them. No, just I'll go for the one. I'd still want a genuflect when I meet you.
Yeah, quite right too. You know we used to do
From
that.
the
I bet It's ages since I've been.
Oh, Fred, you've got to do a favour for me.
Go on.
Good friend of mine, Clive, and his good lady, Vicky, are getting married soon. And he's asked me, would you say to them, well done, some plaudits. So,
What's her name?
Vicky, Victoria.
Vicky.
Clive and
You've
Vicky.
fallen this swine, Clive of India. Well, let me tell you, has a very checkered past. But in all fairness, I wish you all health, wealth and happiness and wish you everything you'd wish yourself. Have a great wedding and have a belting life together. I fill up when I get like that. You know.
Oh, Fred, it's... Clive, that'll be £8.50.
Mr. Santa, hey, all the best, Clive. See, and you, Vicky, have a good one.
He's a lovely lad, Clive. I'll say he's a journalist in London.
A journalist!
And I taught him
okay.
some of the tricks of the trade in Salford.
Got a bad name, a bad reputation, journalist. And this Martin
And
Bashir,
Salford.
hey, Martin Bashir, he's burnt his boats, hasn't he? He's finished now. Who's going to take him on? Getting Our Lady Diana to say
What was that restaurant you were in? You said Cheatham.
Yeah. Funnily enough, what, Carl? You were
He's
going
our
to
new
say?
royal editor for Salford Media. He's,
I used to know them all at the evening news, you know. I knew Michael Unger, he was the editor. Andrew Knott, Guy Middleton. Oh, Guy Middleton, yeah. Bernard Spilsbury. All the old reporters and that, when it was proper gear. And Andy Spinoza, he used to
I know
do...
Andy. I know Andy
Yeah.
very well, yeah.
I knew all of it when I was
Got
doing
a
the
PR
radio.
company now called Spin PR.
Well, he would do, wouldn't he? That's natural. They used to call it, that was his nickname anyway. Everyone called him Spin. Nobody called him Andy. Spin.
Yeah, I used to do the New Manchester Review.
Did you ever come across Jim Ramsbottom that had
At the pub?
Duke's 92?
Yeah.
He was a bookie before that. I used to see him a lot at Salford Reds. He was a big Salford City Reds supporter.
Lancaster Road he was living
Yeah.
in. And back it was his BAC
1C on his Rolls Royce, yeah. And he used to come in and say, I said to him, hey, I was in the Marcaddy. You remember the Marcaddy? Not the one, not that charlatan that claims he saved 70 odd lives. He didn't tell you he pulled 69 of them in, pushed them in before he saved.
They push him in the... No.
Do you believe it?
No.
I don't.
Not for them,
It's
yeah.
too pat, isn't it? Anyhow, I said to him, hey, I was in what's it on Thursday? I said, I've got a complaint to make, Jim. He said, what's that? I said, you know, like you could always go in and you could have half patty and half cheese with your crusty bread. He said, yeah. I said, I went in the other day. I said, no, we can't do that. I said, of course you can. No, we don't do it. I said, okay, give me one there that's patty and give me one there that's cheese. So they did do. And I gave Joe the one with that. I got half of that off there and put half of that on there. And give it, said we couldn't do it. I said, where did you get that idea from? And he said, I got it from somewhere like the Oaks in Charlton. He said, it wasn't my idea. But you could go in there for crusty bread, pate and different types of cheese, cheddar or Stilton and all that.
Yeah.
Brilliant Duke's 92 for that. But now it gets too busy.
Yeah.
And there's Albert's Shed
Albert, yeah. That's
on the East Lancs Road in
You've got
Salford.
two Alberts. You've got Albert's Shed, haven't you, on these Lancs? And Albert's next door to the Duke's 92.
is that Albert's Worsley?
Where's led you that?
Salford, yes.
Yeah,
Worsley, Salford.
Albert's in Worsley.
makes my parochial
I am
blood
surprised
boil.
you've never had any complaints from people of Worsley saying, how dare you call this Salford?
We do on a regular
do.
basis.
Do you?
Yeah.
We enjoy it.
Well,
We shrug.
They've made the bed, they've got a
we
line in it.
sneered in the face of adversity.
yeah, cackled at catastrophe, sneered at doom and laughed in the face of death. Follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road. Yeah, put 'em up, oh, pull an X
Fred,
on me, eh?
we're going to have to roll up in a minute because we've done an hour and 45.
Yeah, they get fed up after a bit. It goes on, doesn't it?
Can we just say, John, would you like to come in and please say goodbye? And
Let
what a
us sit in
lovely
this-
time you've had.
Let us sit in this chair. Come on, John. Come
Yeah.
Go and
Come
sit in
on,
that
Joe.
chair. Go on, say goodbye to him. I'll give you the. I'll give you the.
Oh,
Yeah.
sit there. Well, thanks, John, for
Oh,
letting us come into your lovely house, etc. I've had a lovely time. I want you to answer one question. Is this true that you were a bunny girl?
Yeah.
Really, seriously?
No. No, Tony, I'm a feminist. I wouldn't dream
should
of being a
think
bunny
not,
girl
no. You
at
should-
all.
show him your bunny dip, darling. Show him your bunny dip. Come on, let me get there. Pretend you're.
Did you used to go round Eccles?
I did.
The Air and Hounds and
Oh,
Cross
all the
Keys
time,
and all.
yeah,
I
yeah.
seem to I'm sure I know that young lady's face.
Brilliant
You
swimmer.
will, yeah, you will.
Yeah.
Brilliant swimmer, aren't you? She used to be a streetwalker in Venice.
Is hilarious. Isn't it?
How long have you lived with Freddie for? I know it's
We've been together 15 years, haven't we, love?
We've been together now for 15 years.
And it's
Don't seem a
embarrassing
day
for him,
too
really,
long.
because every time we meet people, really, since we
They
first
always
met-
say to me, how come a lump like you, Jones, ended up with a good-looking fella like me? I get that a hell of a lot, honest to God I do.
or it could be, how did you pull her, Fred?
She's cheered up a lot now, though. Look at those lovely red lips. See them? You're a lot better since you sorted that cystitis out, aren't you, darling?
I am, love.
She said to me, I've got cystitis, and I started laughing. She said, what are you laughing at? She said, it burns. I said, well, stop lighting it. They don't listen, do they? You try to help them out in the womanly world. If men had to have babies, there'd be no more. You heard that one? Have you had that one over your life
the
yet?
other thing that I've also got to say, Tony, while I've got the opportunity to
Please
speak
do,
into all
John.
these
Please
people in
do.
Salford is, I do apologise for Fred's political incorrectness. He doesn't mean it in any way, shape,
Why,
or
what did I
form.
say?
Nothing, just everything about you is politically incorrect.
I don't care. I'm not a snowflake. I'll say what I want. Like I said to you before,
I'll get you took off air.
I've got more summers behind me than I've got in front of me, so I really don't give a bugger.
And I would say thanks a lot for these beautiful pastries, which we will
Oh,
be able to
from
get
the
some
Ilium.
more of.
From the Ilion.
They've been absolutely
Irvis.
fantastic.
Irvis. Thank you very much.
Irvis. Thank
You're
you
good,
very
man.
much appreciated.
Finally, are we allowed back to the house?
Certainement, monsieur, certainement.
Do a repeat show.
You're going to have to get rid of that restraining order, though.
Next time,
Yeah, certainly.
I'd like to talk about the Orpheus project, which was underground Manchester. And
Yeah.
if you can possibly get Keith Warrender to come round. I mean,
Is
his
he
book-
unconscious?
No, I don't know whether he's still on the scene, is he, Keith?
Not a clue. I've got his books in the house.
Well, he approached me. Well, I did the front. I did the what's
did,
it on
the
it?
forward to
the
it.
forward word on it. But he asked me for loads of information about that. And the Orpheus project started in 1984. My dad had just died, and I needed something.
Occupy,
Yeah, to throw yourself into. You really
Yeah,
need it,
I
you know.
understand that, Fred.
Like Joe's just lost a mum in July on her birthday, July the 3rd, and her mother passed away. And she had to throw yourself into something, didn't you?
Yeah, I threw myself into Salford Royal Critical Care.
Oh, she ended up
You
with,
should have said this. Threw yourself into your swimming pool.
She won't go in it anymore now since I mentioned that doing a dippy dive and the bunny dip.
The floater. Wait.
No, I do. I
Sure.
still go in early mornings.
Is
Well,
she?
Yes.
you'd never lose your
Do a
roots.
few lengths, yeah.
Right. Wrapping up. Thanks for having us, and more so, thank you, John and Fred, for having
Yeah,
us. And
you're very welcome.
Hopefully, we'll speak again soon.
Next
We've
time
been
I'll be
invited
with
back.
my other girlfriend, Anne Hegarty, from The Chase. The reason why, I tell you, everybody thought I was married to Anne Hegarty because some photographs
I've
went
seen
in
it.
about me and Anne, belting woman, smashing it, Mancunian, from Rusholme. And Joe and I were out to do, and she was there, and she had no shoes on. She said, my feet are killing me. Dead natural, dead down to earth. And I object to her being called frosted knickers and all, because she's really a nice person. isn't she?
Lovely, absolutely lovely.
Smashing person.
Yeah,
Hey, and done up in a frock with diamonds on and all that gear. Totally different woman. Not one of them matronly things with a bow tie that she comes on the chase
Yeah, I've
with.
seen it.
Looks really good.
So, Keith Warrender, if you're watching,